Welcome back to the Women of Color STEM Conference, and we are so excited here today. We've had so many wonderful guests sitting with us and so many old friends who've been coming for the last 20-something years. And now we have Dre Thompson. How you doing, Mr. Thompson?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about you. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I'm born and raised Detroit, Michigan my whole entire life. I've never been anywhere else but here. And so when we greet people here, we like to say, "What up, Doe?" That's our little local lingo. So
I love it.
say, "What up, Doe, Marsha?"
Oh, that's great. So what do you like about coming to, is this your first time attending?
Yes, it's my first time attending the STEM event or the Women of Color STEM event. I actually am so excited to be here. I got to be a speaker.
Oh.
And that was just such a cool experience, and I'm just so appreciative.
So what was your speech on?
My speech was on Let's Get That Job, how to prepare for an interview, as well as tweaking your resume and cover letter. And the event went on really well, so I actually had two panelists with me. One was named Tanya Stokes, and the other's name was Michelle Davis. She has some experience working with the federal government. Tanya worked with Magna International, which is a tier 1 automotive supplier here.
Okay.
So in the Midwest, a lot of the companies are based around the automotive industry.
Yes.
So the panel went very well. We actually had a lot of questions, a lot of engagement, and again, I'm just like so appreciative for the opportunity.
And so what was your what was your discussion as a panelist?
As a panelist, I gave an overview, a presentation of how to go about getting a job. And so I gave tips in reference to resume writing, the do's and don'ts, as well as a cover letter. Now, in reference to cover letters, some people are for and against the cover letter, where I'm actually like a proponent of it. Because
Why?
I'll say, due to the fact that with the resume, which I don't think should be any longer than 1 to 3 pages, it doesn't give you the opportunity to go in depth in regards to your experience, highlights, and accomplishments as much as you would like.
Okay.
But with the cover letter, you actually get to personalize a bit more and go into depth with your highlights and accomplishments and your experience. You're able to provide the personality that the resume may not actually cover.
So you bring it to life.
Absolutely.
Right? And so where do you work? What is your job or your profession?
So my profession is talent acquisition. So I've been in an HR space for over 10 years. So some companies, just to give you my background of who I've worked for, I've worked for General Motors, I've worked for Siemens. I've actually worked as an agency recruiter and done direct placements on my own. That's what I do currently for Talent Solutions now. So I work with employers to hire top talent so that they can drive change for organizations. So that's what I'm here to do.
I love it.
Absolutely.
So give me 3 things that you would tell a college student who just recently graduated. What should they be thinking about and how to get a job with one of these prestigious companies?
Okay, awesome. So if I was a college student, I don't have a lot of experience or I have little experience and I'm looking to gain a position at a big company, one would be continuously wanting to learn, because learning does not stop outside of the classroom.
Right.
A lot of people get that twisted. And I think a big thing in our society right now, coming out of COVID, is the whole argument of remote versus in-person. And I would say don't discount in-person opportunities over the remote, because you still need to build the soft skills.
And so right there, hold that thought. What is it, the soft skills to the hard skill? There's a difference. You just mentioned it.
Okay, so when I'll go into depth with the soft skills, being able to, I say from a corporate standpoint, being able to communicate, and I think for a young professional, it's going to be understanding how to navigate corporate politics, because no matter what job you go to, there's going to be politics, and you're going to have to learn to work with people who have different styles than yourself.
Yeah.
And so you may not have I don't want to say the most pleasant boss, but you may have someone that's difficult to work with, or you could yourself could be labeled difficult to work with. And if you're a minority, you have to watch out sometimes for that unconscious bias. You have to, for lack of a better word, I say, know how to play the game.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I thought I heard this. Know how to play the game.
Know how to play the game.
And what is the game?
I would say the game is navigating corporate effectively to where you're going to work every day accomplishing your goals, and then still being able to go above and beyond for the company while maintaining your mental sanity. But you have to know how to, I'd say, the nuances, how to carry yourself, conduct yourself appropriately in a professional level, as well as how to coordinate how you maybe, I would still say the way you carry yourself at work is how you should carry yourself outside of work as well. So that I would say that goes back to your integrity or your character. So the character that you display at work is the character you should be able to display outside of work as well. But again, being able to understand the nuances, being able to adapt. You got to be able to adapt. I think that's the biggest thing.
But what does that adaptability look like?
Adaptability, I think, in this market looks like being able to be flexible with the uncontrollable. Because things will come up in the workplace. So, for example, a big pet peeve of mine, I would say, and a lot of people that's unspoken, is that the job description that you're given when you're hired does not actually always reflect the work that you'll actually be doing. Often more than not in corporate, you're going to be tasked with taking on more job responsibilities that sometimes you may not be able to bear. So you have to be able to navigate and manage through that. And that'll be the differentiator between you and, I say, your competition. And I often say that this is a numbers game too, because when you're young and you have little experience, you can't just apply for one job. I often advise for sometimes applying maybe as few as 5 to 20 jobs a day.
Wow.
Because it's competitive. You're competing against people that are potentially overseas that require sponsorship. You're competing against your next door neighbor. You're competing against people in other states. You're competing with people in spaces that have more experience than you. This is a competition. And the company, they have the dollars, they've got the budget, they've got the resources and the team to employ you and change your life. And so you have to go above and beyond and demonstrate to them why that opportunity is for you.
Correct. And also, isn't it something too when people are you're sitting there talking to somebody you don't know, right? And they have your life in their hands, right? What are the top 3 things that you should go in there with? Whatever the skills, how you carry yourself, what you dress, how do you dress when you're sitting in front of that person who's going to make a life decision for you? How should you really prepare yourself to go in to be able to walk away with success?
Awesome. So number 1, I would say you have to walk in there with confidence. You have to walk in there with the reassurance, and this goes back to the resume and cover letter, that everything stated on the resume and cover letter is amicable to your actual experience, because usually it starts with the phone screen interview first. You're getting past the recruiter, and I would say that's the initial gatekeeper. Once you pass the test with the recruiter, it then gets forwarded to the hiring manager, and then now you're placed in front of the hiring manager for potentially an additional phone conversation or in-person conversation. If it's in person, this is where not only do you need to have that confidence, but you need to demonstrate that you've done your homework as well. So doing research. So I often tell people all the time, research the company. When I reflect back on my career, when I first graduated out of college, I didn't have a lot of experience, so I started my own business. And so when I went in with my resume, I had recruiting experience from having started my own company. And I had actually researched the company that I was looking to work for, and I interviewed with the CEO and the vice president. Now, the CEO at the time, she had 2 companies. One was grossing around $25 million in the automotive and engineering space, and I had looked her up and seen she had did a keynote at the University of Michigan. And so while we're talking, I'm telling her all of this research that I did, and now it's conversational, it's personable. I showed her that I did my homework.
Right.
And then a month later, I was able to secure that job opportunity.
I love it. I love it. But you have to go in there ready.
You got to go in there ready. You got to stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. And even if you don't get the job, you still need to have the attitude. I would still send a thank you note. I'd be thankful for the opportunity that you got to showcase yourself. And if it didn't go in your favor, what can you learn from it? I'd be looking for that feedback. So when the next opportunity presents itself, you're even more prepared.
Yes. And that preparation allows you to go ahead and become the success you want because you have created the preparation. You have those skills. What are some of the skills that they should have going into a job in an environment that is unknown?
So I talked about the adaptability. You need to be multifaceted, technology based. I think LinkedIn. So you want to be, I say for an entry level professional, you want to be equipped with information on Microsoft Office, right? So if you're not familiar with Word, PowerPoint, I'd even say at this point Google Suite, so the Google version of Excel, PowerPoints, being able to put presentations together, understanding how to navigate Microsoft Teams,
Wow.
understand how to navigate Zoom, understand how to, sometimes in the HR realm, you could potentially have to deal with pay and how to calculate pay. So being good at math on a semi-basic level is required. Understand how to write emails appropriately, and I would say the emails potentially go back to the politics as well, because sometimes with an email, if you're in a thread with 2 or 3 of your coworkers or colleagues, things could get potentially thrown in your lap or scope that you may not feel is
Right.
within your scope, but you still need to be able to appease your manager to obtain the objectives of the company.
That's powerful. And people really need that kind of information going in, because this is your life, right? And you can't go in half-stepping.
You cannot go in half-stepping. And I would say, too, something that I often think about is that a lot of people in this country wake up and go to a job that they potentially actually hate. And
Yes.
so my advice to the new generation would be to not only research the company, but be passionate about what it is that you're doing, and don't necessarily just chase the money. And I think in the beginning with a lot of young people is, I'd say, I don't want to say minorities in particular, but I want to make 6 figures when you can still have a sustaining, fulfilling life without necessarily having to make 6 figures. Maybe it's the bonus package. Maybe it's the healthcare or dental that potentially you didn't have access to before if you didn't have that. Or it's the PTO and the time off, or if you're looking to plan a family, the parental leave benefits as well. So
Right.
I would say don't chalk it up just to the pay. And again, do not discount the in-person opportunities, because if you're looking for advancement or growth, that's where the magic is happening in person. It's not behind the Teams or Zoom call. It's happening at the luncheon, the water cooler conversations. And it comes down to, do I really like this person? Because if I like you, I'm willing to take a chance on you. I'm willing to give an opportunity to you, and I'm willing to build a relationship with you.
That's powerful. Thank you so much for joining us. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and hopefully you'll come back again next year.
Absolutely, Marsha. I appreciated you having me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
All right.